are you?
I'm Fat Albert.
Imagine this. Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids come to life and step out of their animated film in a city Philadelphia world. I am today's host, Nathan, and I'll be explaining 2003's Fat Albert. The movie begins at a high school. Doris Robertson is refusing her foster sister Laurie's invitation to attend a party hosted by one of their classmates. Laurie assures her she is not a loser, but Doris doesn't feel better. In the lobby, Reggie, an annoying schoolmate with an obsessive crush on Laurie, asks her to be his +1 at the party, but she declines. As Laurie leaves, Reggie makes fun of Doris when he learns she wasn't invited to the party. When she arrives home, she finds a note from her mother informing her and Laurie that her parents will be away for a 2-day business trip. She decides to turn on the TV, and Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids television series is on.
Now we're the buck champions of the world.
While she is watching, her teardrops begin to fall on the television remote. The characters in the cartoon suddenly hear a crying voice.
Don't you hear that?
Fat Albert then sees a teardrop fall into their animated world. The teardrop acts as some sort of portal to the real world for them. Fat Albert sees Doris and insists on helping her as he hears her cry.
It's a girl.
So he jumps into the portal and somehow begins to come out of Doris's television. Doris is frightened and begins hitting Fat Albert with her sofa pillows, hoping to get rid of him. The other characters from the show, Rudy, Dumb Donald, Mushmouth, Bucky, and Old Weird Harold, come out one by one right after Fat Albert. Bill comes out last as he tells Russell to stay put and cover for them. Doris is frightened by their presence, but Albert assures her that they mean no harm. Doris asks them why they have come, and Albert tells her he assumed she had a problem because he heard her cry. Doris insists that she is fine, but the group knows she is lying. She offers them drinks, but they cannot drink unless it is included on the show that they are thirsty. They begin singing and dancing to the theme music of their cartoon. But Doris interrupts and says that commercial is almost over, so it's time for them to go back. When they walk back to the television, they notice that the show has ended, which means they will have to wait till the show is aired tomorrow for them to return. In the meantime, they follow Doris to school despite her initial reluctance. They are amazed by the city and the new technology. They see a man on the street talking to someone on a wireless phone, and they are amused as they have never seen anything like it.
Enjoy them.
In class, Fat Albert tells the class that he came to solve Doris's problem as she doesn't have any friends, and the whole class laughs at her. Later, Doris and the gang are on the track field. She says she can barely finish a track race, but Albert assures her that she can win and that he's here to cheer her on. Albert then notices Laurie and is curious. Doris explains to him that she is her foster sister, whom her parents took in a year ago. Doris then leaves to change her outfit and tells them not to talk to anyone or go anywhere. Albert becomes infatuated with Laurie. So he walks up to her and begins a conversation.
Who are you?
I'm Fat Albert.
Reggie notices Fat Albert from afar and becomes jealous. Reggie challenges Albert to a track race, believing Albert is too fat to win. They begin to race and Fat Albert doesn't break a sweat as he beats Reggie. So Reggie threatens to return for revenge.
You were amazing.
Doris realizes that Albert has a crush on Laurie and reminds him that he will return to his cartoon world once their show starts. On their way back to Doris's apartment, Albert wonders if Laurie really likes him despite his looks. Still, his gang reminds him that he needs to solve Doris's problem. Suddenly, they see a group of cheerleaders. In another attempt to help Doris, the gang persuades the cheerleaders to be friends with Doris, and Heather invites them to an outdoor party. Albert thinks he has saved the day, believing Doris and the cheerleaders would be friends. Upon hearing the news, Doris is furious. Albert threatens to leave, and when Doris tells him not to, Albert says he will stay for the party if Laurie is there.
Okay.
She reluctantly agrees to attend the party. Doris and the gang then head to the mall to buy a dress that she can wear to the party. The gang is amused by the mall and is starting to like being humans. The gang wreaks havoc all over the mall as they are clumsy and overwhelmed. Later, Albert and Doris play a jump rope game before leaving to prepare for the party. She seemed really happy. The gang is worried that they don't fit in with the humans at home, but Albert feels more positive and optimistic. Doris shows up with her beautiful dress, and everyone is stunned. Doris feels nervous, but they assure her that she will be okay. At the party, Albert and Laurie are together.
You can be anything you want to be.
He suddenly rushes off to grab a soda after Laurie makes him nervous. He notices Doris is hiding and cheers her up. Reggie attempts to make fun of Albert by asking him to come on stage, hoping he would make a fool of himself. But Fat Albert steals the show as he begins to sing.
They call me Fat Albert, that's my name.
This annoys Reggie, who is desperate to get back at Albert. While Laurie dances with Albert, Reggie attempts to make her jealous by dancing with Doris. When Laurie does not notice him, he tries to forcibly kiss Doris, but she yells at him to stop and runs off. Albert warns Reggie to stay away from Doris or he will be dealing with him. Rudy runs after Doris and apologizes for the mishaps as they were only trying to help. Doris insists that she doesn't need help. Meanwhile, Albert learns that Laurie misses her parents, and after he consoles her, she calls him her BFF.
Me and you. BFF?
Later that night, Laurie confronts Doris about her recent behavior change since her grandfather, whom she was very close to, died. Laurie adds that Albert and the gang were only trying to help, and she apologizes. Laurie suggests they have Albert over next week, but Doris tells her Albert won't be around. Doris goes to school the next day but asks the gang to go to the park instead of following her.
To the park. To the park, got to go.
Harold, who is normally clumsy, joins in a basketball game and can play perfectly at the park. Mushmouth, who cannot talk normally, is taught how to speak by a little girl. He insists that they call him Mouth instead. Donald, who couldn't read, goes to the library and he can read suddenly. Doris spots him and confronts him for coming to the library. He removes his pink face covering hat and discovers he has a handsome face. Meanwhile, at the park, Rudy learns that his color is fading and that he is becoming transparent. He and the rest of the gang begin to panic. Bill suggests that they have to return to their show. When Doris takes them home, 3 gang members, Bucky, Harold, and Donald, jump into the television. Albert is undecided about returning to the show, and a piece of breaking news interrupts the show before the other 4 can enter. Albert and Bill have an argument in private about going back. Albert says he wants one last night with Laurie, and Bill agrees.
Let's make his last night here one he'll always remember.
Just then, Laurie shows up with tickets to a fair. Billy suggests that he, Rudy, and Mushmouth make their last night in the human world memorable, and they agree. The gang decides to take Doris and Laurie to the fair in style, so they build a junk-made car from the junkyard.
It is a car.
Albert takes Laurie on a roller coaster ride, and Doris tells Rudy she would date him if he was a real person when he asks. Later that night, Albert is unhappy that he has to return to the show 5. Confused and in need of guidance, Albert goes to meet his creator, Bill Cosby, and tells him of the dilemma. A frightened and skeptical Cosby explains that his character is based on Doris' grandfather, Albert Robertson. This explains why Doris feels Fat Albert seems so familiar. Albert tells Mr. Cosby that he wants to be human, but Mr. Cosby warns him that he has to return to the cartoon world or he will turn into celluloid dust. Devastated, Albert tells Laurie that he can no longer be her BFF and must leave. Laurie does not believe he is a cartoon character. She yells at him and cries. She thinks Albert is abandoning her like everyone else in her life. She believes he is being insensitive and walks out on him. That night, Doris tries to tell Laurie the truth, but she doesn't know anyone could jump in and out of their TV. Laurie is still very upset and goes to bed. The next day, Mushmouth, Rudy, and Bill jump back into the television, but Albert insists he must help Doris and turns off the TV. Reggie, standing outside, witnesses the gang jump back into the TV and learns that Albert and his gang are characters from the television. Albert goes to a track meet where Doris and Laurie are competing and encourages Doris to a victory. Doris learns that Laurie talked the coach into making her anchor, but when she questions Laurie, she learns that it was Albert's idea. Doris wins the race for the team, and they cheer for her. She and Laurie run off to find Albert, who is already starting to fade. Albert can barely walk on his own as time is running out. Reggie ambushes them and attempts to threaten Albert, who pushes him aside and scares him off. Albert rushes to the girl's house on a borrowed skateboard, causing a mess as he cannot control the skateboard. He eventually arrives at Doris's house and says goodbye to Doris and Laurie. Laurie finally believes that Albert is a television character, and he promises her that he will come back. Before he leaves, Doris finally realizes who Albert reminded her of. She hugs him, and he tells her he loves her. Albert gives Laurie his face cap and jumps back into the television.
Hey, who wants to play?
Back in the show, Albert manages to take back the show's focus from a gang of bullies that threatened to do so earlier. These bullies had been picking on Russell while Albert and the rest of the crew were away.
Hey, Danielle.
What do you want?
On the show, Albert tells Diane that there is no better feeling than knowing that someone is looking out for her and that she doesn't need to stop caring about people when she insists that she wants to drop out of school. Albert's speech indirectly refers to Laurie, who smiles as they watch the show with Doris. Doris feels better than she was at the beginning of the film. Sometime later, Cosby and his friend stand in front of their old friend Albert Robertson's grave. They happen to be the inspiration behind the cartoon characters he created for the show. We see images of their counterparts as the camera pans through their faces. From a distance, Doris watches them as the old men race away. Doris is happy watching the old men as they are still kids at heart, the same kids from the television show that they helped Bill Cosby inspire. She eventually walks away too. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos from Imagine This, and make sure to subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about our latest videos. See you next time.